Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome along to round 5 of the 2015 GPVWC World GT Series. Now, today is quite a special occasion on our 7-round calendar as we, for the first time this year, return to a track that was on the 2013 calendar 2 years ago, and it was a fantastic race, I do remember. So much in this qualifying session for Luis Felipe Capamajan. The Peruvian has had a bit of a mare so far and has not been able to complete a proper lap. Currently down in the lower end of our... Right, I'm back. Sorry for that, ladies and gentlemen. A bit of a connection issue today. But yeah, Capamajan not having a good session at all. Only down in 18th position with a 2:01, and to give you an impression of what sort of times you should be doing around this track, we're looking more at the 1:57s. Nico Barclay currently occupying that top spot currently as I just get back into the game. Talking of the top runners, there is the potential today for two winners in our championships. Luis Felipe Capamajan leading the drivers, Scuderia Basilia winning the teams. The chances are slim because essentially what is going to have to happen is Capamajan's going to have to win this race, and the guys behind him like Jacobs, like Barclay, are going to have to have an absolute mare of a time today. And the same case is very much in the teams championship. Scuderia Basilia are pretty much going to have to get a 1-2 with everyone behind them either not scoring or scoring very low in order for any sort of championship to be won. So you might have to wait until next round at Silverstone, or indeed maybe even the final round of the Circuit of the Americas before anyone can be crowned champion. But to be fair, we have seen champions crowned here at Brno. Alex Cooper was named 2013 Drivers' Champion last time out, or 2 years ago in 2013. As I say, though, I doubt very much that we're going to have the same case here today, as I'm just getting back into the server, so I'll have information with you as soon as possible. It is only me on comms today. I'm James Kirk. I'm not sure how long I'm going to be on comms, judging by my connection today. Also, welcome onto cameras, Josh Anderson. He'll be taking you through the action if I end up being completely incapacitated before the end of the... either session, qualifying or the race. And we will be joined hopefully next month by Stefan McCready, but he's got no mic unfortunately today, so damn you Amazon, shakes our fists at them in disgust. But anyway, 4 minutes left of this qualifying session to go, and the top 5 is currently Marius Nicolai, who pulled off a shock win last time at the Circuit Algarve, was incredibly fast and no stopped as well. Is the German a potential new threat to this championship? We shall wait and see. Nico Barclay, looking for his second pole position of the campaign, occupies P2 and is only a couple of hundredths behind Nicolai at this current interval. Matty Churgwin's P3 with Thomas Jacobs second in championship P4. His teammate Boy Bryson currently occupies P5, and as you've said, having a bit of a poor session so far, Luis Felipe Capamajan, the man with the most poles and indeed most wins this year, our championship leader, sitting down there in P6. He's currently 6/10 off first place. But that said, he has had a couple of sessions where he's had a couple of scares before, and he seemed to have come through them very nicely indeed. Of course, after this round, Brno, we only have 2 rounds left, as Afo mentioned, Silverstone and the Circuit of the Americas. And for the most part, it's been a very successful return to GT, and the World GT platform has just made it all the more exciting, all the more interesting, and we certainly hope to see more new drivers, more new teams, and perhaps some more established teams coming into the fold next time out, as unfortunately we've been suffering a little bit with attendance as we've gone throughout the year. Only 19 drivers here today. We'll hope for a couple more as the year runs down. But talking of running down, only 2.5 minutes left for drivers to make any sort of impact on this qualifying session. Marius Nicolai currently sitting on provisional pole. and currently looking for his first pole position of the year as well. Would be a nice return after the summer break to follow up a win with a pole position, and I'm hoping that he doesn't pit this time around so we can potentially go on board with him. I'm also looking... Actually, let's go on board with Felipe Capmajan, shall we? Josh in P6, just going around turn 1 now. He's coming on to his outlap before he presumably winds up for one last throw of the dice, as it is going through turn 3 and turn 4. They're a little right-left. And then up... Oh, sorry, turn 2 and 3, sorry. Going up into turn 4. You'll see a lot of these complexes. Mid-speed, left-right corners. Some go uphill, some go downhill. Some, like turns 4 and 5 here, very much on an equal playing field. But then we go downhill to the braking zone of turn 6. It's a double right-hander here with a little mini straight in between. You've got to be careful with these curbs. They will bite if you're not careful. And it's downhill once again through turn 7, and then downhill more into the left-hander of 8 to TSA off on the side there, around and into turn 9 as well. Out we go now. Yeah, this is onto the back straight, onto turn 9 now, going furthermore downhill. Very much dominating this first part of the circuit. Goes downhill and then it comes all uphill again through turn 10 and onto the main back straight now. You get a little bit of good slipstreaming down here. A potential overtaking move to be had. Coming now into turn 11. It's a hairpin which starts our ascent back up to the top of the circuit. Capmajan actually being held up behind Gomez, so he might want to hold off for just a little bit longer before the... Oh, sorry, it's Fuller for the ST driver, going through turns 12 and 13, going ever more uphill. And looks like Fuller's going to let the faster Capmajan through. Very courteous of the Englishman there. Going uphill, 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 and then it's a little downhill slope through turns 13. And it's an even playing field now as we head through turn 14, the final corner. We shall keep an eye on Capmajan as the times go on, as Mark Fuller pulls in. His session is done. Let's see who else is potentially improving. I see Morby off the track there in P9. Now, I think that would be his highest, qualifying of the year, but unfortunately, not able to improve there. Reece Gardner's in. Not many people out on track, to be fair. I'm just trying to see who is our first out on the circuit. Let's have a little look at Paul Watkins, shall we, in the mighty fourth car. Looking very good, actually, is Paul. He's been pretty high in the time so far in that BMW Z4. And, of course, 2 years ago, it was a BMW Z4 that took pole position. That was David Junt, but unfortunately, times have changed a lot, and David not actually setting a time at all this session, as Paul Watkins, I think, isn't improving. He comes straight into the pits. Let's see who will be next, though. I believe, it's going to be Nico Barclay here. So our second man on the track, and Lewis McGlade just behind him as well in P14, looking to improve. Not exactly the best of qualifyings for Lewis McGlade either. Barclay going around the final corner. Oh, my word. Lewis McGlade mounting the curve there behind. I don't think he's going to be improving. Can Barclay find 600ths? He can find 100th of a second, but it's not enough to displace Nicolay. McGlade is in a disappointing 14th for the Englishman there, which means that we only really have 3 more on track, maybe 4 more who are doing that. Pedro Gomez in P7 looking to improve. He needs another 2 tenths, so to even overhaul Capmajan in 6th. Portuguese man goes across the line and he does improve. And in fact, he set the same time as Capmajan, but it's not enough to overdo him there. Milliseconds in that. Next down the road is Jacobs and Churgwin coming through. P4 and P3 here. P2 and P4 in the championship. Can Jacobs improve? Yes, he can to P2. What about Churgwin? He doesn't improve. And now we just got to look to Capmajan. Can he improve? Yes, he can, but only 5th for our championship leader. It is Marius Nicolay then. After his first win of the season, he takes his first pole position of the season. And the Walk Racing driver, who has not had his fair share of luck this championship, to be fair. He disconnected from the podium in Interlagos. He had further troubles as well in... it was Turkey. Yeah, he got involved in a start crash in Turkey. Still came home to finish P6. Looking like he's going to be continuing a nice vein of form here by staying in that first position over from from Portugal to here, Brno. So very nice job there from Marius Nicolay. At the end of it all, less than 100th of a second separating him and Jacobs. Nico Barclay P3, Matthew Churgwin P4, Kapamajan only P5, Bryson P6, Gomez P7, Watkins in the best qualifying for him P8, Morby in the best qualifying I believe for him P9, and Reece Gardner P10. And I notice that Lewis McGlade was very, very unhappy with Kapamajan. As I said, he had a bit of a nightmare in the early stages. He didn't get his first lap right, and then he lost his front bumper on his second lap. It looks like McGlade believes that Kapamajan was potentially holding him up or ruined one of his qualifying laps. And if true, then might we see a grid penalty for Kapamajan? It's possible. It was only the... Oh, forgot that I can't really go too far away from the mic, otherwise it doesn't pick me up. But yeah, it would be very interesting to see the championship leader fall into difficulties now. To go quickly through the Drivers' Championship for you lot, Kapamajan leads by 32 points from Thomas Jacobs. So the permutation here is that if Kapamajan wins today, which to be fair, as the evening goes on, is looking less and less likely, Jacobs would have to get 7th place at least to stay in with a chance of the title race. Remember, there's only 25 points on offer maximum per evening for the driver. So once we leave Brno, there will only be 50 points maximum left on offer. So already you can see what that 32-point gap means. And I think it's going to be Jacobs' prerogative that he finishes ahead of Kapamajan for sure. 7 points behind Jacobs, though, is Barclay, also ahead of Kapamajan. So Lewis's fellow compatriot might be able to gain some points as well. He is 39 points behind. But you're going to have to think that they'll have to be getting big chunks out of Kapamajan over the next 3 rounds for sure to have any chance. Chogwin happens to be on the same amount of points as Barclay, but is only behind due to Barclay's win from Turkey. Nicolay, ever improving in form, is now P5 on 42 points. McGlade is P6 on 35, recorded his first retirement last time out. Matt Richards, who I don't believe takes part in World GT anymore, is P7 with Boyd Bryson P8. Gomez P9, he's missed around and had a retirement. And Reece Gardner, rounding out the top 10, has also missed a round. So you can see, really, that it's the top 4 or 5 that are well and truly in this championship fight. And the fact that all 4 guys that are behind Kapamajan in that top 5 are ahead of him on track, it's going to be very interesting to see how this race plays out. Because usually we've seen the Corvette not have to stop, but we've also seen that they're not too fast on that strategy as well, as Nicolay proved with great aplomb last time out at the Circuit Algarve. In terms of the Teams Championship, very unlikely that the teams is going to be settled here today. Scuderia Basilia on 141 points. Downforce iZone Racing, 60 points behind them. Instead of 25 points per evening, it's 45 points per evening. So at the end of the Czech GT Cup, there's going to be 90 points left for teams to try and scurry up as in terms of maximum points able to be gained. And I don't think that Downforce is going to be losing 30 points here today, especially with Kapamajan looking a little bit off colour. TSA Racing's a further 21 points behind Downforce on 60. Then Zamora on 55, Walk on 45, Fox on 41, Torrent on 35. No Torrent here today, by the way. Smile on 30, with no Smile here today either. ST on 27, and Racing Aces PB rounding out the top 10. All of our teams have scored a point by this stage, though, so it's good to see that at least the competitiveness is there, and no matter who you drive for, you can still get a decent running, if you will, because I certainly know what it's like not to score points in a race, let alone a season, and it's not a nice feeling. It's, you know, you feel like you've entered for no reason in many respects. So it looks like Bart de Vos is trying to join, which would bring us up to 20 or 21 drivers, but it seems that having a bit of trouble. To be fair, I've had a bit of trouble with R-Factor 2 as well today. I couldn't sync up today. I couldn't load up multiplayer properly. And I've been disconnecting left, right and centre as well. Sort yourself out, R-Factor 2. It's not good. Not good. I forget how long these warm-up sessions are, actually. It's like nice and lonely. But yes, perhaps we can talk about what happened yesterday. I tell you what, we are now words, James. We are now ending. Oh wow! See, this is. I was going to open my drinks bottle and have a drink to refresh my brain, and I didn't do it, and I'm instantly regretting it. Oh, right, that's better. We're nearing the end of the season now. Business part of the season. And in our fellow Tin Top Championship, which runs almost adjacent to us, World Sports Series, that's coming to an end very soon. The Drivers' Championship is really hotting up there. Pretty much between three drivers there, Risto Capek, Kevin Siggy and Martin Lapassa, going into the final round at Monza. Make sure to tune in 2 weeks to watch that. Atlantic Series is going on still. Lars Brugman extending his championship lead. ITC, Eric Strana with a comfortable lead, but Kevin Siggy really starting to catch up on him now in these ending parts of the season in terms of the career ladder as well. The Formula Challenge Teams and Drivers' Championship isn't really that exciting. Super Cup is, from what I remember. Oh, no, it isn't. No, Walk's dominating. Oh, no. Risto Cap is catching up to Heasterbeek in the drivers, so that's pretty good. And Super League's pretty interesting as well. Pushka starting to run away with that title now. But in Super League, you never know what's going to happen, whether your car fails, whether you have a disconnection, whether someone finds speed from somewhere. But at the end of the day, there's such great racing going in and around World GT. And it's kind of a shame that we only appear once a month. Because usually the World GT races are full of strategy, full of great battles. I think that is going to be something that we have to keep a very beady eye out for. Because Nicolay was ominous in the ending stages of the Portuguese GT Cup. And I need to stop saying ending so much as well. Yeah. Stop around the head, James. It started off very slowly. I think he qualified like P6 or P7. And he held back for a long time. And then he just grew and grew and grew in pace. Forced his way through to the front. And we were like, surely he's going to pit. Surely he's going to pit. He's got to pit soon, surely. And he never did. Just run off with it. I think it was 20 seconds the gap between himself and whoever was in second. But there we go. We've also had a little bit of info through from one of our drivers today. So we want to thank Pedro Gomez for a driver's view of Brno circuit. The basic facts that you have to know about this circuit is it is quite bad on tyre wear. And so, therefore, those with higher wing values are potentially going to be doing well. They might be able to turn in more, but it also means that they can save their tyre by putting less lock onto the wheels. And so those with the higher wing values, although they might not be getting so much overtaking done on the track, they will be getting overtaking done through pit stop phases, through tyres going off as well. And I think that's something that the Corvette and Ferrari were certainly very good at. Lewis McGlade very strongly telling me, you know, make sure that the audience doesn't know that I'm terrible. The Porsche is awful around this track. And you know what? I tend to agree, given that the top Porsche in qualifying was Reece Gardner in 10th. So I think Lewis McGlade might very well be correct on that one. Though to be fair, if Lewis was held up by Capemajane, then who knows? It might have been better for the Porsche. To be fair, there was a lot of furore. I mean, it's sort of a legacy of this. Should we have upgraded to the latest version of the EGT mod? Or should we keep it as this? And the decision was taken by the administration. No, people have signed up for this championship, so we're going to keep it this way. But there's certainly a lot, as I say, there's a legacy of that thought of, well, there's very clearly cars that are dominating here, that are OP, as the kids call it these days. And I'm sure that if World GT does continue into next year, as I'm sure it will do, it's been a lovely first year back, to be honest. Great racing, great strategy. A wonderful story for the championship as well, especially if Capemajane starting to lose his touch now. Should we upgrade throughout the season? How will the season look next year if we stick with EGT? I mean, we're presuming that the Corvette will be upgraded to the C7, but it won't be as OP. Other cars will be better, will be more balanced. Will we see a completely different story to this year? That is, as it may seem, though, something to be discussed for another day, as we have 30 seconds left of warm-up. Mr. Joshua Anderson, I'm going to ask you to give me a quick fling on TeamSpeak here. Who do you reckon is going to win this race?
Oh, that is a very good question, James. A lot of potential candidates, given the qualifying scenario we've just seen. I personally am going to go for Nico Barkley, because I think it's going to be a Basilea, but I think Barkley, it would be interesting to see if Kaplan-Majan, I think he's going to be second or third. Kaplan-Majan will be on the podium, but I'm going to tout the other Basilea for the win.
For me personally, I think that's a very interesting point, Josh. I'm going to slightly evaluate on a little bit after, but for me, I think the fact that Nicolay was so dominant in Algarve, and now he's at the front, I don't know, that seems very ominous for me. But to be honest, just evaluating on Josh's point there, it is a stat to remember that every time Barclay has out-qualified Kaplan-Majan, and note, that was only once, that was at Turkey, that was when Barclay got pole position, Barclay finished ahead of Kaplan-Majan as well. So, yeah, I think Barclay certainly has a shout. I will wait and see. Maybe Nicolay's pace was a one-off. Maybe Algarve just really suited the Ferrari and it really suited him and the setup was perfect and everything. But yes, out of the two Basilias, if one of them was to win, I would have to agree with Josh, actually. I think that Barclay's got a very good chance there. And, of course, the issue mainly with Jacobs and Churgwin is that most situations they've had to go for the one-stop option, which, of course, loses you a heap of time in the long run. In fact, the only person who could have made a one-stop work would have been Jordan Weeks last time out at Algarve after taking pole position, was mightily quick, and the pit stop just destroyed his race for him, which was a real shame because I really wanted to see the one-stop strategy work, but alas, it wasn't to be, as we're just waiting for the final couple of drivers, I believe. Yeah, I think we're missing Metcalf, are we? Brett's trying to get into the room, and I believe Bart DeVos is as well, which would bring our field up to 21, which would be nice. But yeah, to give you a quick idea of the sort of temperatures here and the weather report, pretty much looking dry. Part of the excitement of the Czech GT Cup 2 years ago was that it rained right at the beginning of the race session, and there was a real split between wet and dry tyres, and eventually the guys who decided to say, I think we're going to stick with dry, they proved to be the big winners, as everyone else had to dive into the pits pretty much after lap one in order to get anywhere in the race. They were really held back by it. As I believe we're switching over session. Oh, we're going to restart. Okay. We're just restarting the session, ladies and gentlemen. We do apologise for the slight delay in proceedings. But yeah, completely dry for this round, we believe. And a very solid 34 degrees on track. I hear that it's been quite cold up in Scandinavia. The rest of Europe not been that way at all. Been a very hot summer for the most part. It was a bit of a let-off in the late stages of July, but come early August, the heat is back. And it's horrible. I don't like the heat at all. Ugh, it's muggy. Never come to the UK if it's too warm. Unless you live in a warm climate anyway, in which it'll probably be cool for you. I'm probably going to Orlando in December as well. Don't know how I'm going to survive there. So anyway, Brett Metcalf has entered the game. He says he's all good. We hope that is the case. I don't think Mr. DeVos is going to be joining us, though, unfortunately. He's given us the go race. So hopefully we're just going to be advancing to the next session, setting up the order of things once again, thanks to our ever-patient race director, Chris Williamson, for making sure the event runs smoothly, of course. And before we just jump over to the race session, of course, if you want to get in contact with myself across the broadcast, I'll try and get to you at the end before the questionnaire and interview section. Hit me up on Twitter, @KirkyLife, that's @KirkyLife, or hashtag GPVWC live. And I shall get to as many of you as possible. Because I got no friends. I got Josh with me. So it's okay. But I like hearing from you. I like hearing thoughts of stuff because, you know, it's new. It's R-Factor 2. It's the new era. We don't have any grid penalties, do we? Just trying to remember this. No. No, we don't. So we're all good. We're all good on the grid penalty front. I must say, actually, it's been one of the cleanest series this year as well, World GT. There was the real mess at Turkey, but apart from that, it's been really nice and considerate. Actually, to be fair, I'd say it across the board. It's been very nice. Much better than past years. And I think it's a couple of drivers leaving, a couple of drivers improving as well. And hopefully, me being me, I haven't just cursed it. Because we all know what happens when I say something's going to happen and then it doesn't. But anyway, 1 hour of racing awaits. And I should really set up my timer so I don't look like a fool like the early broadcasts. Because that would be hilarious. Go away, Facebook. Stopwatch timer. And it's already set on 1 hour as well. So there we go. Off we go then, on pole position with Marius Nicolai for Warp Racing. He's in the Ferrari 458 and he leads away second in the championship. Thomas Jacobs for Downforce iZone Racing. Behind him is third in the championship, Nico Barclay for Scuderia Basilia. And behind him is P4 in the championship, Matthew Churgwin for TSA Racing. Luis Felipe Capamajan, then our championship leader, after a scruffy qualifying, will start P5, just ahead of Downforce iZone Racing's Boyd Bryson in P6. Pedro Gomez is the lead of the STs in P7, with Philip Morby getting into the top 10. He'll be P8, so there was a grid penalty, actually, and we'll just go through it in a little bit. And Reece Gardner then is P9 for Aurora Motorsports, and Augustin Canapino rounds out the top 10 for Adonis Engineering. Brett Metcalf will starts P11 for Amaroli Racing Team, with Mark Fuller starting P12 for ST. Paul Watkins, it was with the grid penalty, and it was a 5 place, will now start P13 for the Mighty Fourth, with Roy Schroten starting P14 in another BMW Z4 for Fox Racing. We then have Lewis McGlade qualifying P15 after all of that, unfortunately, so a lowly position for someone in the top 10, with Paul Joseph behind him, the other Mighty Fourth driver in P16. Rick Scott is our lone Hawkeye in P17, with Ken Hunter P18 for Amaroli Racing Team. We then have David Junt. 2 years ago, he was the pole sitter in this Czech GT Cup. No qualifying lap for him this time around, though. And rounding out our grid end is Simtech Jota Sports lone drive for this evening, Sharon van der Sloot. Also unable to complete a hot lap. So 2/3 of our maximum of a 30-car grid here today. Remember, attendance is noted by the league administration, and the simple fact is, if you're not turning up enough, then you won't be held in good stead for next year. So some teams on the naughty list as we head round this 5.4 kilometre circuit up the hill we're going now with Marius Nicolai. What sort of strategies will we see? Early indications suggest that the no-stop will once again be the way to go. High downforce settings, the way to go. And if you can keep your tyres in check, then you'll find yourself with a massive advantage. So look out for the likes of Barclay, of Capamajan, of the Auroras, who hold their tyres very well. As we all get lined up on the grid now. The last few cars coming around the final corner of turn 15 and getting lined up into position. We're about to get underway here at the Czech GT Cup. It's round 5 of our World GT Series. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 lights in here in Brno. We're racing. And it's a good start pretty much from everybody. Barclay with a decent start from P3. Past Jacobs already. Captain Majan jumping, Churgwin very nicely. Up into P3, looking to get past Jacobs as well. Into turn 1 we go. Barclay into second. Captain Majan into third. That was the start that he needed. Canapino with a lightning start as well in the midfield up to P6 there. Who lost out massively. It looks like, oh, Boyd Bryson off again. He's run into trouble again and straight down to last position he goes. As Jacobs now looking on the outside of Captain Majan there into turn 4 around the outside. There'll be a brave move from the Aston Martin driver. And here comes the other Aston in the championship hunter. Churgwin looking up the inside as well. And Captain Majan going slightly wide there out to turn 5. This will give Jacobs a nice little run. Canapino there as well with such a strong start in the Adonis 458. And Jacobs around the outside then of turn 6. He's trying to make it stick in the most difficult situations possible. Churgwin trying to dive down the inside as well. And he takes Jacobs ahead. The two contacting as we head down into turn 8. P2 and P4 in the championship. They're holding each other up though. And I tell you what, this has been a consistent theme this year. In Captain Majan's title lead, everyone else in the championship behind getting into contact with each other. But Churgwin seems to have won this day. Up ahead, Nicolay running nicely ahead of Barclay. And it looks like, yeah, Churgwin just about holding on from Jacobs here. Watch out for Canapino and Gomez there, hooking onto this fight. As well as, contact between Jacobs and Churgwin. As I said, they're really holding each other up now, really. It's just all playing into the Peruvian's hands. But mind you, he's not really getting away as well as he would hope. Gomez there 7th, Gardner up to 8th, but loses out very quickly to a, fast starting Roy Schroten. Good start from the Fox driver, and Fuller up to 10th as well. Remember, the big loser this time out was poor old Boyd Bryson again. Always seems to get involved in something. But at the end of lap 1 then, it is Marius Nicolay from Barclay, Captain Majan, Churgwin, Jacobs, Canapino, Gomez, Schroten, Gardner and Fuller, with Morby right on the back of them in P11, as I actually fully realise that I have not turned on my timer. That's a great start. I should be there or thereabouts now, 58 minutes left on the clock. So, Nicolay leads by 9/10 of a second. Barclay pulling out the gap nicely. Captain Majan still there or thereabouts, with Churgwin being hounded by Jacobs. Seems like Canapino has had a bit of a poor turn 1 though, and Gomez, the Portuguese driver in arguably the best car of the field, the Corvette C6R, trying to hook up into the Argentine's slipstream. Schroten now fully past Gardner into 9th, by the way, as Gomez not able to do anything down the second of our straights here on Masaryk circuit. Looking further down, it seems like there's a nice battle going on. Actually, no, it's not a nice battle, sorry. Lewis McVeigh just went off the track. David Junt up from the back of the grid to P13 now, so a good start from the PB Racing driver. Everyone seemingly nice and spread out currently. As looks like Canapino's back on it now and closing down Jacobs at a rate of knots, actually. As Mark Fuller's off. Mark Fuller is off, and what was that? That was down at turn 9, it looks like, and he just lost it all on his own. The rear axle locked, and Morby lucky to avoid him. But down to P19, Fuller goes. A shame for the English driver, was looking really nice in that top 10 position. But yeah, that promotes his fellow Englishman, Philip Morby, then up into P10. As Nicolay's extending the gap out to a second. Captain Majan still not really able to escape Churgwin, who's been able to pull clear of Jacobs. I think Canapino is still starting to catch down the Aston Martin ahead of him. Gomez P7, Schroten P8, Gardner P9, Morby P10, as there's now a close battle for P11 and P12 here. Paul Watkins up to P11 from P13 after his grid penalty. But on the back of him is David Junt, who's having a bit of a barnstorming race so far. As we head onto lap 3, the BMW versus BMW battle looking nice and juicy so far, though the Swiss goes a little bit wide through turn 1 and has to try and gather that up in turn 2. Lewis McVeigh in P13 will be looking for a couple more points as well. Behind there, I noticed Paul Joseph under all sorts of pressure from our first lap casualty, Boyd Bryson. And it looks like Bryson seems to have gotten that done down our second straight in. Yeah, brakes much later around the outside of turn 4. A lovely move from the South African. Next on his hit list will be Sherwin van der Sloot and Brett Metcalf. I don't think that'll be too hard. Rick Scott in there as well. I don't think that should be too hard for Boyd to deal with. As back up at the front, Jacobs has caught back onto Churgwin once again. It looks like Captain is starting to close down Barclay as well. The two Aston Martin drivers doing a good job so far after that first couple of laps of melee after holding each other up for so long. Canapino holding nicely in P6 after a poor qualifying, it seems like. Gomez 7th, and the rest of the top 10 really nice and spread out. Everyone seems to be holding station quite nicely, actually. No retirement so far as well. Lovely to see. There's Jacobs heading round to turn 12 now. Trying to keep in the slipstream of Churgwin, but it's such a hard job to do here. There's only really 2 main straights which you can really capitalise on the slipstream. Maybe 3, this straight up into turn 14, providing another overtaking point, but you need a good run out. And in order to have a good run out, you don't really need the understeer ahead of you. Which obviously Jacobs is suffering with a bit as we head now onto lap 4. The TSA driver ahead of the downforce iZone Racing driver as we head to turn once again. Status quo. Paul Watkins holding on to P11 from David Giant. So I'm just trying to find the next closest battle. Nice battle here. Look, P16. Sherwin van der Sloot holding off the other I-Force down zone. Wow. And oh, sorry, contact there between van der Sloot and Bryson. Good time to come to them there. I think Bryson was just far too late on the brakes. And yeah, unfortunately, Sherwin van der Sloot there losing his bumper, his rear bumper. And it looks like Bryson's lost a bit of his front splitter as well. So damage for both of those drivers. And it's really helped out Brett Metcalf there in 15th, currently the last of our point scorers so far, as he runs away the 2 drivers behind now with damage on the rear and the front respectively of their cars. And just a lapse of concentration like that, or not reading braking zones ahead of you very well, as Rick Scott up ahead has just got past Lewis McGlade. And I wonder whether McGlade's had an off. I think he would have, because he was quite a way ahead of Rick Scott. Yeah, he had a really, really blurry moment going through turn 6 there, went into the gravel. And the Hawkeye driver then is through into P13, but McGlade is right back onto the back of the Englishman. His fellow Englishman, of course. As we head through turn 10 onto the true back straight here. Will McGlade have a look into turn 11? He is looking to the inside. He brakes a little earlier as Boyd Bryson's gotten past Sherwin van der Sloot now, by the way, into P16. But Lewis McGlade hounding the back of Rick Scott, and he's got to be careful because Brett Metcalf and Boyd Bryson are there behind along with Sherwin van der Sloot, looking to pick up any pieces that may be there. It's a bit of a lowly position for McGlade, as I said. He's only had 1 retirement this year, but every other position has been pretty good points so far. As we head up the hill and now down the hill into P14. Or into turn 14, sorry, not P14. We are looking at P14 though, so I did get it right in some capacity. As behind as well, Bryson looking to get into the slipstream of Brett Metcalf and look to get into the points. It looks like McGlade might not be able to have a look at Rick Scott into turn 1 this lap, and the same can be said for Bryson into P15. He does have a little look, tries to spook Metcalf. But there is nothing doing this time around, unfortunately. Going back to P6, it looks like Canapino's under a bit more pressure from the Portuguese driver, Pedro Gomez. Gomez, of course, and the Corvette seem to have had a couple of layoff laps, but Canapino heading into T6, still ahead. Still nice and close battle there. Maybe go back to P13, actually, because Lewis McGlade seems to be a little bit closer to Rick Scott. It seems like the guys up ahead are quite happy not to battle and just to hold status quo for the moment, try and preserve their tyres, which will be a factor coming into the latter part of this race, of course. And look at that, Lewis McGlade right on the back of Rick Scott, lining up a move, trying to see where he's weakest, and he is going to have a little peek into turn 9 there. Nothing doing, of course. And Rick Scott going very defensive into turn 10 as well. Nice run out, though. And will McGlade have a look going down to P11, or turn 11, sorry. He had a little peek here last time, and he's going to have a look again. He brakes a little later, but Rick Scott brakes nicely as well. And all a little bit of contact, I think, there on exit. And Lewis McGlade still unable to do anything. Rick Scott with a very nice, very defensive drive so far. So he turns 12 and turns 13 now. Boyd Bryson has actually dispatched of Brett Metcalf, by the way, I've noticed, and is really coming onto the back of this battle as well. So McGlade is wanting to have to get the move done early. Rick Scott not giving any sort of indication that he's going to be giving up this fight just yet, though. As we head around the final corner, look at that. Bryson, in the case of a lap, even without that front splitter, has still been able to catch up very nicely indeed as we head into turn 1 once again with these three. Lovely battle for the lower points here. And yeah, it looks to me like Bryson's just taking turn 1 a lot better here. As up at the front, P2 and P3. Was that a let through by Barclay? I believe it might have been. Yep, it was a let through from Nico Barclay. How interesting. Team orders at this very early stage of the race. So Captain Majan through into P2. Barclay down to P3. A very interesting scene there. And so early in the race as well, especially when Barclay is in that championship fight. As we head back now to P13. Scott versus McGlade versus Bryson. Scott still ahead, and I do wonder whether McGlade is either holding off or running higher wing. He's gone a little bit wide there, and Bryson looking around the outside can't do anything for the moment. And they're all going status quo for the moment, but Bryson very much in this fight now, and you must wonder, would it not be better to perhaps let Bryson through, as McGlade getting a little bit wobbly there out of turn 9, and this might give Bryson the opportunity he needs down to turn 11. Look at that, much, much better exit. And I think he's already alongside McGlade, surely position none. And Bryson is up into P14 then. Perhaps he will have better luck with Rick Scott ahead. McGlade, sorry, just trying to keep in a slipstream now. Brett Metcalf and Sherwin van der Sloot still very visible in his rearview mirror there. So the battle from the bottom of the points very much on, despite the fact that the battle up top isn't so exciting at this present moment. Heading down then into turn 12. Oh, sorry, turn 14 even. It's been a long day, ladies and gentlemen. I do apologise. Bryson looking to line up a move on Rick Scott. McGlade will be looking to suck up on Boyd Bryson's slipstream. No move to be done through into turn 1, but I reckon that Bryson will probably be looking at turn 11 again and thinking, I've gotten a couple of overtakes done here today. Around that corner, perhaps worth just saving up for then, of course. As we head through with these three up to turn 4 then. It's Scott, Bryson, McGlade, 13, 14, 15. And it all looks like Rick Scott's gone a little bit deep into turn 4 there. Goes defensive into turn 5, holds off Bryson neatly enough. But looking under increasing pressure is the Hawkeye driver and team boss, remember. And it looks like Bryson's not hanging around. Going to have a look into turn 6. He all breaks a little later. Oh, and he's lost a rear axle. That is so easy to do. And McGlade collects him as well, as does Metcalf. And Bryson, oh, I knew he was going to be doing it too late. And McGlade, the biggest loser, you would say there. Front damage for sure. Van der Sloot, the biggest winner, through into P14. Brett Metcalf down to P15. And Rick Scott didn't really do anything wrong there. Survives another day in P13, is up ahead now. Pedro Gomez and Canapino going into battle. And it looks like Gomez is through from the turn 10, turn 11 section. And it's still very close there. Roy Schroten's gotten involved in this as well. So now we're starting to get fights flaring up here as we exit the first quarter of this race. Heading down to the final couple of corners now. Canapino not giving up. Schroten there in close pursuit as well. Three completely different car manufacturers here. We've got a Corvette, a Ferrari, and the BMW in this mix. We'll see which of them has the best straight line speed though as we head on to lap 8 here with these three. Gomez, Canapino, Schroten in close pursuit. In the background there, far behind, Gardner. We'll surely be hoping that something goes wrong with these three and that he can gain yet another position in what's been a very solid campaign for the Australian in his first World GT Series. Notice there, Schroten looking a bit eager on Canapino. Looking to the outside here at turn 4. Can the Dutchman get something done around the outside? He brakes later. He's trying. He's trying. And he's got it done as well. What a lovely move from Roy Stroton in the BMW there. Up to P7 he goes. And that'll be benefiting Gomez doubly so. Because it means that the two of them fall a little bit more behind. But Canapino, this early race pace might have been at the cost of tyres, it seems. And he is now back down to P8, though not letting go of Stroton just yet. I'm sure that the dogged driver that he is, he won't be letting go of these two ahead just now. I'm sure he'll want a nice results for him, because I don't believe he's actually scored this year in World GT. In fact, no, he's only had one result back in Turkey, and that was the 19th. Not exactly what you'd expect from the Super League and ITC multiple race winner at this point. Talking of Reece Gardner, actually in P9, I noticed that Morby's actually starting to catch up to the Australians, so we might have a battle on there. Also, the battle for P11 is just flaring up again as well. Paul Watkins still there in P11, and David Junt has been in P12 for quite a long time now, but has been yet to overtake the Englishman ahead of him. The Swiss driver with a bit of a campaign so far. Decent point scores. He scored in half his races, not in the other two. As for Watkins, it's been solid. It's been pretty good, you might say. 2-point scores in a retirement. Didn't take part in Portugal. Definitely running in his best position so far, though. And holding on to David Junt as well. Who, remember, took pole position at this track just a couple of years ago when World GT was last held. So the Swiss driver still there. I noticed Rick Scott, though. He just can't seem to get a break, Rick Scott. As now, in the battle for P13, he's under pressure from Sherwin van der Sloot. Perhaps the Dutchman will have better luck in getting past him than McGlade and Bryson before. Heading up to turn 4 with these four. Metcalf and McGlade in very close pursuits, of course. I think van der Sloot locking up a little bit there. But, Rick Scott's gone a little bit deep there as well, and I think van der Sloot will be looking at that as an opportunity. Running out very wide there. As up ahead, sorry. What's happened to Canapino? Canapino's round in the middle of the track. Up ahead, he's just ahead of this Metcalf and Scott and McGlade battle. And let's see what happened to him. He was, he just lost it on the exit of turn 7, and around he went, and he's rage quit. He actually caught McGlade, he caught Gardner through there as well, and Canapino has rage quit once again. And he's got to sort himself out, Canapino, otherwise he will not be a success in our Factor 2. Simple as that. So Canapino becomes our first retirement from this race, and that promotes Stroton up to P7 permanently, Gardner up to P8, Morby up to P9, and Watkins now into the top 10. David Junt in close pursuit, but going back then to P13, Rick Scott still holding on from van der Sloot, and I think that Canapino accident helped him out a little bit, because van der Sloot was looking very, very hungry, and to be fair, still is. But hey, we've got our first pitter now of the day as well. Roy Stroton in P7 comes in for Fox Racing in what is sure to be a tyre stop. Maybe that's what helped him in those early stages, as Showing van der Sloot, is past Rick Scott. And that was up the back straight into P14 there, into turn 14 there. And Brett Metcalf's now looking very interested as well. So van der Sloot having to P11 now with Stroton going into 15th. And Rick Scott actually going to have a little look back here now into turn 1. The Englishman looks to the inside, not going to do anything though. Brett Metcalf looking very hungry as well. And McGlade just staying behind, hoping that he might get a little bit of luck finally after all. Stroton's still in the pits, by the way. It's a very long pit stop for the Dutchman. As I'm sorry, Rick Scott now under a lot of pressure into turn 4 from Brett Metcalf. South African breaks a little bit early, though. Invites a little bit of pressure from Lewis McGlade, and Stroton's still in the pits there. He is coming out now, apparently. So all the way in P17, the only people behind him are Bryson and Hunter, both of who have been lapped by this point. But that was a very lengthy stop for Roy Stroton. Further up the road, Morby is under a lot of pressure now from Watkins and Junt here for P8. Watkins and Junt have had very solid races so far. And on the back of them, actually, is Boyd Bryson trying to unlap himself. But he's got to, I think he's going to probably wait until this pit stop stage, which has seemed to have been kicked off now. Watkins holding station behind Morby, as is David Junt. Any mistake, though, will be jumped upon, I'm sure, as Nicolay goes round again, as does Kapamijan, as does Barclay, as does Chergwin, as does Jacobs as well. And it seems that through the turn 11 hairpin, Watkins lost a little bit of time there to Morby up ahead. Junt sticking in behind as well. I do wonder how early Schroten's called this, to be honest. Because by the looks of it, everyone else is going round, and quite happily as well. So good suggestion from Josh. He might be 2-stopping, but usually it's a 1-stop if any stops happen in World GT. And that is where Watkins is making up the time. Much, much better on the brakes. He's up ahead. Gardner's having a bit of a Larry moment, I think. Yeah, Watkins with mighty brakes at this point. Really catching up to Morby through turn 1 there. And once again through turn 4, it's looking very nice for the Englishman here, as it is for the Swiss driver Janssen. You can see Boyd Bryson must be such a big distraction in the rear mirrors there of Junt. He has no obligation to let him through because he's a lap down. But he's always something in your rear view mirror, and he is going to be a big distraction, and that can just throw you off. You never really know with this thing. And looking at Schroten's pit stop, I think he lost 50 seconds from that overall, if not more. So that's a big loss there for Schroten, actually, to be fair. I think really we'll just keep cameras on this P8 battle because it seems to be the closest one there. As Brett Metcalf's out now. What happened to Brett? We knew he had this. We knew he had connection errors earlier on. And was it a error again going down here? Yep, a straight out disconnection. So Brett Metcalf becomes our 2nd retirement today. Real shame for the South African. Was running strong, but that allows Paul Joseph then up into the points along with Mark Fuller. Remember, Roy Schroten currently, who will be in 16th actually, has pitted though. Yet we have yet to see whether Roy Schroten has to 2-stop, in which case he may be under a little bit of threats for points. Everyone's still going around nicely, it seems. No threats of overtakes just yet. The Morby going in very deep into the final couple of corners. And this could allow Watkins the chance that he's been looking for. He tucks up into the slipstream of the Aston Martin ahead. Watkins for the mighty 4th, looking for P8 here. Morby goes defensive. Watkins follows him behind, as does David Junt. Status quo through turn 1. But remember, this advantage goes up to turn 4 as well. As behind, it looks like Lewis McGlade has finally gotten past Rick Scott through turn 14. Yeah, that was a nice move from McGlade, and Rick Scott not able to do too much of the replying. Up ahead, Morby holding on from Watkins, holding on from Junt himself. Bryson still there, just to remind you, a lap down, so not part of this battle. It must be very frustrating for these guys not to be making any sort of inroads. It's so tempting just to go for a dive down the inside, and Thomas Hinds will tell you that, but it's so frustrating that you can't, even though you're in the slipstream for so long, you still can't make an impact. And by this stage, Morby's now 30 seconds off the race lead already. Truly extraordinary. But mind you, we're almost halfway through this race already. They do go very quickly, World GT races. And pretty much the better half of 7 minutes left, and we will be at the halfway point of the Czech GT Cup here at Masaryk Circuit, Brno. Up at the front though, Nicolay has extended his gap to Luis Felipe Kapamijan. It was at 3.1, but Kapamijan actually gained 0.3 on that lap. 2.8 now the gap, with Barclay very close behind him, P3. Chergwin P4. Jacobs P5. And Gomez there in P6, all on his own. As is Rhys Gardner in P7. It's then the close battle still of Morby, Watkins and Junt rounding out our top 10. We will just see where these guys come into the pits, to be fair. Excuse me. Bit of indigestion. It does look... Oh, look at this. Boy, Bryson's had enough here. He's looking for a move, and I think Watkins might have a little stab at Morby as well into turn 1. Oh, no, he's not. But Boy Bryson has been... He's muscled his way through on Junt here. He has had enough of being held up But to be fair, he's going to have to give the position back to Yunt if he doesn't hot-footed up the road now. As I'm up ahead, it looks like Paul Watkins looking to the inside of Morby. You can tell the frustration's starting to settle in now. He wants to get past Morby on track, but it's so frustrating that he can't do anything now. Still, David Yunt, I'm sure, will be a little bit furious because technically, Boyd Bryson should be getting out the way. You can feel for Bryson because he shouldn't be back here. He's got the pace for top 10, which ironically he is in here. But yeah, I mean, look at this. He's being held up massively by Watkins. But unless he gets a good run, he can't do anything. Heading on to the back straight then with these three. Definitely still the closest battle on track. It is very much Boyd Bryson just trying to have a go on Watkins. That is literally the closest thing that is happening here. So apologies for the lack of action. You will find most of the intrigue coming through pit stops, of course. Of which, to remind you, Schroten is still the only one to do so. And we think he may be on a 2-stop as well, so it's not looking too good for the Dutchman. Mind you, he is nearly on the back of Fuller as well. And on fresher tyre and potentially less fuel, there might be an overtake there in the near future. As the Morby train rolls on to lap 14 here. We're very nearly at the halfway point of this race, and Bryson getting even more impatient. Surely not going to dive there. No, he isn't. But once again, Watkins getting very close up under braking. And a really nice run there through turn 1. Surely he's going to be looking to have a little bit of a stab through into turn 4. But hooked up behind Morby. Morby feels the need to go defensive. Watkins pulls out very early. Morby retakes his line as Watkins didn't gain any sort of purchase on the inside or outside of his compatriot there. But Morby does go very wide, mind you. And through into turn 9 here, it looks like Watkins is going to go for the better exit. And oh yeah, he's right on the inside. But I think he's just gone out to slipstream a bit too early. Is he going to have a dive? Oh, is he putting up there? Oh, whoa, Morby locked the rear axle, and Watkins is very much alongside now. And through he goes into turn 7, into P80 he is. And that is a very nice bit of patient work from Paul Watkins. And I tell you what, looking behind as well, David Yunt is getting furious. Boyd Bryson is holding him up so much. And it's bordering, I would argue, on illegal driving for Bryson. He should be having blue flags in this battle, and he is not letting David Yunt pass. In fact, look at this. He's trying to make a move on Philip Morby. And oh, Morby's round. Oh, no. And you can see what effect Bryson is having here, and I would not be surprised if the South African is called up for a number of offences here at the end of this race, because this is simply poor. It's all good and well if you've got a faster car to overtake, but if you can't make your way up the road successfully, you've got to let that position back. It is blue flag rules, simple as. Either way, big winner there. Paul Watkins up into 8th. David Yunt, despite being held up behind Bryson, also a winner there into P9 as Morby locked his rear axle. He's down to P10. To remind you of your other point scorers so far, Van der Sloot P11, McGlade in P12, Joseph 13th, Scott still 14th, and Fuller 15th as Van der Sloot is now in the pits. And I'm interested to see whether Van der Sloot will repair his rear damage. No, he's decided just to continue on without it. So we shall keep you updated with where Van der Sloot is. Where Van der Sloot is. Going German there. Deary me. Sim Race TV is affecting me too much. But surely then this is going... As I see the Rick's... Yeah, good shout from the cameraman. Rick Scott is also going into the pits. So this should, in theory, allow Roy Schroten... Oh my word. Schroten with a massive lag out moment there. But he should therefore be through into P14. As I'm actually Van der Sloot, that was a much quicker pit stop than Schroten. And is he out ahead? Yes, he is. So Van der Sloot with a much quicker pit stop. Schroten not able to make it work. And that is how much time, because remember, Schroten was fighting in and around the 6 to 8 battle. He is now behind Van der Sloot, who came in P11. That is a lot of time lost. And Rick Scott now exiting the pits as well. He's going to be... Oh, yep. And Bryson. Oh, Bryson. Dearie me. I think, to be fair, at this stage, though, Bryson is able to get up the road, though. Because at least there's no one ahead of Bryson. But yeah, he's got the boots. He's got the boots. That's a nice phrase, Josh. I'll use that in future. But yeah, Rick Scott back out then into P16 as Jacobs is in. Jacobs is in from P5 on track, possibly looking to make the undercut. We are now halfway through this Czech GT Cup. Marius Nicolay still leads by 2.3 from Kapamajan and Barclay in very close pursuit. I do think that Barclay is the faster, you know. And he's flashing as well. And I do wonder whether he's saying to Luis, look, I've let you have your go now, but it's not working. As there's something going on in the midfield. Oh, it's Jacobs there filtering back out into P7. So he's actually just ahead of his teammate who has been lapped. Ahead of Watkins nicely. But behind Reese Gardner in 6th. And from what is to be believed, Gardner is no stopping. So he might have to overtake Gardner on track here. Though evidently with less fuel as well. As I noticed, Kapamajan is really starting to crank up the pressure here on Nicolay. Rick Scott nearly to be lapped here. Or he has been lapped, sorry, by Nicolay in 16th place. He will have to let the 2 Peruvians through as well. But Jacobs calling the shots early. And he is going to have to pull out a pretty big race. A pretty big half of the race, sorry, if he's going to want to make any championship indent onto Kapamajan, who's currently sitting there in P20. The only man who would be gaining points on him after this round would be Marius Nicolay. And it would only be 5 points. And just having a look at the championship connotations here, would that be enough? Kapamajan would be on 110. Nicolay would be on 67. So Nicolay would just still be in with a chance of winning, but he would need Kapamajan to have a horrifying last 2 rounds in order to have any sniff of that championship title. As Cherwin's in there from P4 as well. He was ahead of Jacobs, remember, as Gomez goes through in the Corvette. I believe Reese Gardner should also go through. We'll see. Oh, there we go. Cherwin is moving. Does he get out ahead of Gardner? This would be a pretty big indicator as to how close it is. Gardner ahead on track now. And Jacobs is through as well, is he? It's going to be very close. Cherwin getting up to speed. Jacobs going around the outside here. He's got warmer tyres. And now is the chance to overtake Cherwin if there ever has been one. David Junt into the bits as well in P9 there. But Jacobs with the better tyres. Can he make the move on Cherwin now? Into turn 4. Status quo so far. Oh, Cherwin though. The colder tyres, you can see it there into turn 5. Jacobs having to go a little bit wide as Cherwin, tries to try and wrap the car in some form of meaningful present manner. But he can't do anything. Jacobs later on the brakes as well. He's almost pushing Cherwin around this outlap for the TSA driver. And Jacobs so desperate to get past. He was held up so much by Cherwin in the early stages. Round 8. And oh, dearie me, a real slap on from Cherwin. And surely that's position. Yes, it is. The cold tyres really affecting Cherwin there. And Thomas Jacobs has made his earlier pit stop work. He's made the undercut work. He is up into P6. And he'll be looking ahead to Gardner now in P5 to try and make another place up in the hunt towards the 2 Peruvians. And more importantly, Luis Felipe Kapamajan. David Jump, by the way, came out in P11 behind McGlade. Although McGlade has his headlights on, he's just turned them off again. We don't know why. Maybe it's a bug. I'm sure he'll tell us after the race. But yeah, David Junt, I think, will have to work pretty hard to get past McGlade, who, again, we believe is no stopping. And Bryson is out. And was that all of his own accord as well? Oh, we had... Oh, dearie me, where was that? Oh, yeah, it was turn 7 again. So where can it... Oh, was it even? No, it wasn't. It was early. It was turn 6. Turn 6 and turn 7, very difficult corners. He lost the rear axle, much like Morby, and lost his rear wing. And after all of that poor driving he was doing earlier, he has become Our third retirement of the day, Bryson. So all of that for nothing, which I'm sure will put him in even worse stead, to be honest. So what does this mean then? Well, not much for the guys up ahead. Bryson is out of the points, so it doesn't affect us that much. But Gardner, however, does have something to do, as Jacobs has eaten up the gap hand over fist. It can only be called. And look at Cherwin, hardly able to make much indent on the downforce driver either. And Gardner's racing a different race. He won't want to lose too much time to Jacobs, but surely the move is inevitable. There's still 25 minutes of this race still to go. And I don't think Gardner's going to be doing too much from here, to be honest. It's only going to be moving backwards for the Australian. And look at Jacobs there, almost pushing the Australian through. Surely this is game, set, and match down into turn 11. Yes, it is. Gardner doesn't fight too hard. And Jacobs is back up into 5th. Next on his list will be Pedro Gomez, but he is 14 seconds up the road. That is a lot of time to make up. We have still yet to see whether the front 4 are going to pit anyway. They might have to. We simply don't know at this stage. Vieira, Gardner's highest position so far this year, P9. Even if Chogan overtakes him as well, I think he's pretty set for P7, which would be a lovely result. It must be said that the Porsche guys, such as Aurora, not too happy with the decision not to upgrade the mods. Of course, they feel that their car is significantly downgraded in comparison to the Corvette, and especially on this track where they feel it's very weak. And look at Chogan there already in the Aston Martin, really eating up the time. And surely another move for Gardner is to be expected fairly soon. As Chogan not making life easy for himself, going very deep there at turn 4 actually. This is the battle on track for P6, I remind you. Gardner, we believe, no stopping. Cherwin has stopped in what we believe to be his only stop of the race, of course. The only man who we believe might be 2 stopping is Roy Schroten. Though, mind you, the length of his pit stop might have suggested that he's taking more fuel on. So trying an alternative strategy. But from what we've seen across World GT for all 3 years it has been running, the earliest you should stop is halfway. If you can stop later into the race, that's fine. But there's Chogan already looking up the inside there of turn 10 there. But surely it's going to be another move down into turn 11 that Gardner's simply going to have to give up here. Chogan into the slipstream. He goes to the inside. He goes for a cheeky dive. And yeah, Gardner, he knows not to fight that. It's not his fight at all. So Chogan is through to P6. And Gardner is down to P7. The good news for him is that he's 10 seconds ahead of his nearest rival behind, Paul Watkins, who's having a stellar race so far. Has been looking good all week. As I said at the start of the broadcast, looking to translate that into some good final results for him. Philip Morby, P9. McGlade now into P10. But that said, David Junt closing him down very quickly as well. David Junt a 1-stopper, McGlade a no-stopper as well. And that's 9 seconds that Junt has got to make up in 20 minutes. I don't think it is undoable for sure. I think Junt might have a good shot at the top 10 here, which would be a very good result from the back of the Brooker, mind you, starting from P19, did our Swiss driver. So looking for good things. Joseph 12th, Fuller 13th, though in battle with Sherwin van der Sloot actually. Mark Fuller also going for a no-stop. Sherwin van der Sloot a 1-stopper himself. And right on the back of Fuller here. Surely it's only a matter of time for the Dutchman Racing commentator lords, help me. Sherwin van der Sloot. Only a matter of time, surely, before he gets past Mark Fuller here for P13. Might even be into turn 1, actually. Here we go then onto the front straight. Lap 20, these guys are going on to here. Almost ticking over to 20 minutes left of this Czech GT Cup. Nothing done into turn 1. But Sherwin van der Sloot, I imagine, will be hooking up onto the back seam where Mark Fuller loses a bit of time. By the way, Jacobs has caught up 2 seconds over the last lap and a half to Kapamajan, leads ahead. Will that be enough? I am not too sure. I'm actually going to have a little check at all. As Sharon van der Sloot almost pushing Fuller around turn 5 there and right onto his rear end. As we head down to turn 6 here, he might go for a dive, the Dutchman. I don't think he will, though. He's a little bit too far behind, yeah. But a move shortly incoming. It might be turn 11 once again. It seems to be the most favourable of moves, the hairpin. All over the back is the Dutchman. All over the back of him. As we head down here into turn 9. And then into turn 10. How is Fuller taking it? He's taking it quite nicely, actually, but van der Sloot had a much, much better run, actually. And look at that, already looking to overtake Mark Fuller. What about top speed, though? I think Sherwin's got enough to go for a cheeky dive. Fuller pulls in, and wow, he's been able to hold onto the positions. Good brakes from the Englishman. And holding on just about up ahead, by the way. Jacobs has just started his lap. 32.6 seconds. Remember that number. That's to the lead. We'll see how much he catches up during this lap as we keep an eye on Mark Fuller. And van der Sloot, oh, he's hit the wall. He's hit the wall, van der Sloot. And what happened there? Let's have a look. It was through turn... Oh, he just lost it out of turn 12 and 13 there. All his own doing. He hit the wall. Still going, thankfully, but that's allowed Roy Stroeten through into P14. And surely that's going to be P15 for Rick Scott as well. Such a shame for van der Sloot. But that is what happens when you don't have a rear end. That is a big lack of rear grip and rear downforce that you got it into the pits. Van der Sloot comes. I fear he may, unfortunately, be retiring that SimTech car. So perhaps then that battle being ended, we can have a little closer look at Thomas Jacobs. He's just coming through the final few corners now. And we will see how much he's gained over this one lap. Remember, at the start, he was 32.6 seconds behind the race leader. So from there, we are going to calculate roughly how much he can do. A lap around here is basically just under 2 minutes, remember. Where is he? So 31.2. So that was 1.4 seconds over the case of a lap. Now, I'm expecting maybe 9 laps remaining, 9 or 10 laps remaining. 1.4 times 10 at best will be 14 seconds. So, to be fair, unfortunately, unless he picks up the pace massively over the next 10 laps or so, he might have a go at Gomez for P4, which is around where he pitted from. But it seems like his chances of a podium are going to be very short-lived indeed. Speaking of the podium, shout out to Marius Nicolai. A much more measured race this time. Has never been outside of 4 seconds of Kapamajan or Barclay. But he's holding station very nicely. Kapamajan, remember, he was let through by Barclay. And you can tell that he was let through by Barclay, who has clearly been the faster and just holding off. You know, it's a big surprise that they've said, hey, look, you know, go and have the position. Because Barclay is in that championship fight, remember. Look how close he is to Kapamajan ahead. He's got every right to overtake him, I would say. Or maybe he's resigned himself to the fact that he can't win. Either way, I do feel it is a real shame that the battle for P2, which should be actually very interesting and very exciting between two teammates, has been dumbed down at this stage. Either way, they remain roughly 3 seconds off of our German leader Nicolai, looking to be the second man only to win 2 races this year, and he'll be the first, well actually no, he'll be the second man to win 2 consecutive races. Gomez there in 4th, now only 8 seconds ahead, 7 seconds ahead of Jacobs, sorry. He's lost 3 seconds in 1 lap alone. Extraordinary. So we should see a battle for P4 definitely coming in the next few laps or so. Cherwin P6, Gardner 7th, Watkins in P8 there, with Morby P9, McGlade P10. And we were talking about David Junt making up the time here. He's now only 3 seconds off McGlade. So we could have Jacobs Gomez going on in a few laps. We might also have Junt McGlade going on in a couple of laps. And I'm sure that McGlade would be very happy to take another P10 if he can survive that long. Quarter of the race left to go here. And Masaryk Circuit with Joseph P12, Fuller P13, Schroten P14, and Scott P15. Sharon van der Sloot still in the pits, by the way. He might very well finish, but he's got no chance of points unless someone else retires ahead of him. Though, to be fair, if we've hit the quarter mark stage, if anyone does retire, well, actually, he's only 2 laps behind. So he might be okay. But I reckon everyone has been classified by this point for sure. Apart from Scott van der Sloot and Hunter, who need to complete a few more laps. And actually, looking at McGlade and Junt here, the gap has come down even further now to, what is that? Just under 2 seconds. The gap's still coming down between Jacobs and Gomez, by the way, but I just think that McGlade is starting to struggle a lot here. Junt mounting the curve in turn 7 after seeing all the accidents that have happened through that couple corner complex. I wouldn't want to be risking it through there, to be honest. But you can tell that Junt can see a top 10 in his sights and he wants it pretty badly. Racing PB currently, remember, P10 in the championship. But have been very patchy in their driver attendance, unfortunately. Either way, it's not looking patchy for Junt in terms of a top 10 here. Yeah, look at that, catching up hand over fist to McGlade, who seems to be struggling most with traction, it seems. And our BMW Z4 friend might very well be looking at the slab. Look at this, right on the back of McGlade now. The one stop working for Junt. As we head up to the final 2 corners here, turn 14 and turn 15. It might very well be turn 1 where our Swiss driver has a look at the Englishman. We can also take a look down at turn 6, maybe turn 11 as well. It's a nice exit, and it looks to me like McGlade is flashing as if to say, you can go through to me. Yep, Junt, yeah, McGlade going off the accelerator. He knows that's not his battle. Junt through into P10. McGlade down to P11, but almost rear-ending Junt in the process. But yeah, it's very similar to Gardner. He knows it's not his fight. But nevertheless, I think McGlade would be happy with the P11, to be honest. It's still good points. And where Aurora's in the top 5, I'm sure he'll be very happy. So, Junt up into P10. And I think that's as good as it's going to get, unfortunately, because the next man up the road is Morby, and he's 20 seconds up the road as well. Though, mind you, Morby, talking about him, might have a battle on here, as he seems to be catching on Paul Watkins. 3.6 seconds. I'll remember that gap as they cross the timing beam again for the next lap, which will be lap 25 for these guys. Also, the gap between Gomez and Jacobs. That has also come down to 3 seconds. I'm pretty sure it'll be even less once we cross the timing beam to head on to lap 25 with these two. Gomez crosses the line now. And what about Jacobs? Oh, yeah. 2.6 seconds. He is reeling the Portuguese guy like a haddock on the end of a fishing line. And he's reeling him at a rate of knots as well. Move incoming soon. As for Watkins and Morby, remember, it was 3.6 seconds. I think that is coming in a lot as well, looking at that. Watkins crosses the timing beam now. What about Morby? That is, yeah, 2.3 seconds. So Watkins, Morby, another one to watch out for as well. Jacobs and Gomez as well, very close. Kavmajan and Barclay unable to make any sort of impression on Nicolay still. The podium seems to have been locked out for me, and that was that great start from Kavmajan that really made it that way, to be honest. Coupled with the fight between Cherwin and Jacobs, of course. And there's further worry here for Watkins, as Ken Hunter's now in the way. Though he gets out quite swiftly for Watkins. Will he get out of the way swiftly for Morby as well? I imagine he would do. He's come back onto the racing line just behind Watkins. Oh, wow, almost rear-ended. Watkins, oh, Morby, four-wheel drifting around turn 6. Mightily impressive. But it's not going to gain him any time. Or did it? It might very well have done. My apologies. You know how to take that corner best, Mr. Morby. And apparently it's by four-wheel drifting. Number 25 there, closing in on his English compatriot very nicely indeed. And talking of another English compatriot here, Thomas Jacobs. Now almost within a second of Pedro Gomez up ahead in the Corvette. They cross the timing beam now. Gomez 25.4 off the lead. Jacobs 26.9 off the lead. It is 1.5 seconds between the two. 10 minutes left to go as Watkins has gotten very close there to Morby. Morby closing up very nicely through that middle sector. Definitely less than a second between these two, and I believe this is going to be the next battle that hits off then. As we head through the final couple of corners here with the Mighty Fourth driver and the TSA driver. I don't think any move is going to be made through into turn one here though just yet. But 6/10 between the two of them. Getting very close. Morby surely going to be looking into the likes of turn 6 and turn 11 to get past Watkins here and into P8, which would be, I believe, a highest finish for Morby. Not period. I remember he finished a little higher at Bathurst 2 years ago, but certainly this year, yeah, his highest finish so far, P11. For Watkins, his highest finish so far has been P14. So very, very nice. As Jacobs is past Gomez, sorry. Completely missed that. I think Gomez must have made a mistake, surely. Yeah, he went very, very wide to turn 8 there. Jacobs had the inside run into turn 9. Gomez broke a little bit too late. And Jacobs is through and into P4. Going back to Watkins-Morby. Watkins able to hold on just for now. And looking very nice. Nicolay actually extending his pace now, extending his lead. So the German looks pretty set to make his second victory of the season permanent. So the final battle really on track here to keep an eye on is this Watkins v Morby scrap. Can Watkins hold on? Does he have any more in the tank? We shall wait and see. He's got 8 minutes or about that to do it. Heading down the back straight now, down into the hairpin of turn 11. Watkins brakes nicely. It seems to go a little deep for me, but it's slightly okay with that corner. You can run out, and it seems to me that Morby's actually running out a bit too far himself, so he's losing time on the exit of corners. And remember, from earlier on in the race, Watkins' brakes were pretty good, actually. It's how he's able to make all those overtakes stick. So heading up to turn 14 then. Still 6/10 the gap between the two of the last split. We'll see what happens as... oh, Barclay's back through on Capamajan. Well, well, well. Or he was at least for a little bit. What happened there? Did Capamajan make a mistake? Let's have a look here. Or was it even... It was very briefly, I think, there was an overlay. Capamajan made a slight mistake there through turn 7, and I got worried there. Oh, he is still in front, yeah. So was he... Oh, it's weird. It's almost like my game didn't let up, so it looks like Barclay's been let through again. It could have been an overtake. You know what? I'm going to have a very long back through because we got the time. We got 6 minutes or so. Let's have a little look here. So, oh yeah, here we go. So it was on the exit. Oh, it was a let through. Very clear let through from Capamajan as well. As Roy Schroten comes into the pits again. How bizarre. He did have to two-stop. But yeah, it was a let through from Capamajan. But it makes me wonder. Barclay was the fastest all race. Why wasn't he let go earlier?
I think Capamajan might have just thought he had a shot at it. I think in the grand scheme of things, with Capamajan as the championship leader, he would have, he's obviously leading the championship, has first go trying to go ahead and catch Marius, but Marius has run away with it. So I think Luis Felipe Capamajan might have thought, right, going to let Nico through, see if he can try and get the win. Maybe thinking team strategy here, get Basilea to wrap up the teams.
You were on stream, weren't you? It wasn't just awkward silence.
Oh no, I was on stream. Yeah, I'm on stream. I've got the whisper button, but I've also got my stream thingy.
That was useful. I was just worried that there was going to be far too much awkward silence there. But interesting scenario either way. And actually, to be fair, thinking about it championship-wise, very courteous of Kapamajan to let Barclay have the extra points. But in my opinion, I don't know. Pretty silly from a team standpoint, given that Barclay, at least to me, seemed like the faster guy and could have potentially caught Nicolay. Never mind. That's how you throw away wins. Almost like a Williams situation. Should have let the faster driver through earlier, huh?
It's interesting to note, actually. A 1-2 would have put Marius Nicolay out of contention from the championship. If it was Barclay and Kapamajan, it would have put Nicolay out of it.
It would have. Cameraman extraordinaire with all the stats. As Roy Schroten, funnily enough, is back out into P14 after pitting yet again. Because he's re-overtaken Rick Scott, who fell off the road. And he's looking very squirrely on those tyres as well, mind you. Apologies for the copy. Yeah, Roy Schroten not losing too much then. I guess it was a very quick stop as well. Only a couple more laps left. Speaking of only a couple more laps left and stellar jobs, Paul Watkins is still there in P8. Still holding on from Philip Morby. And he's opened up the gap, actually, to 1 second. I think it's a little bit less than that, surely now. Less than 5 minutes to go of this race. I'm sure that the mighty fourth camp are going to be willing Watkins on in what would be the team's highest finish in World GT to date. Watkins was a pretty good contender last year across the board in definitely World Sports Series. A couple of years ago as well in World GT, he was pretty good as well. Been lacking form this year. But actually, to be fair, we thought he'd fully left GPVWC after poor experiences in the ITC. But he is back as... Oh, Gardner's off, sorry. Gardner is off right at the end. Let's have a look here. And was that Schroten that... Was it all on his own? Oh, it was all on his own. Oh, he just got caught on the grass. Can he get going again? No, he's out of the race. Unbelievable. And I'm not sure whether Gardner will score points after all of that. Because it looks, I mean, from what I saw, he just got caught on the rear of on the very edge of the grass there, brakes locked up. And, oh, you've got to feel for the guy. What a shame. From such a good position, P7. Tell you what, though, that is going to benefit Watkins and Morby massively. Watkins now up into P7, Morby up into P8. Jump P9, and I tell you what, it's benefited his teammate Lewis McGlade here, who is back up into the top 10 after all of that. Joseph will be up into P11. Fuller will be up into P12, and who's actually holding up Nicolay here. Surely blue flags will apply very soon. I'm just looking, surely, let's see, it's lap 29. Surely Schroten and Scott again an extra position as well. The question is, will the time run down in favour of Gardner? Because the only man who I can see taking that final point away from him, because he will be classified Gardner, don't get anything wrong, but Van der Sloot might yet get a point despite being 2 laps down here. And it just, I guess it's a real good advert for everyone. Keep going. If you can keep going, do, especially in long races, because you might benefit a lot. I've got 2 minutes, so I reckon, yeah, it's going to be this lap. It might be, actually. Let's have a look here. Where is Nicolay on circuit? He's going through turn 6 and 7. So, yeah, I think this is the penultimate lap of the race then. I mean, I tell you what, look at how much Barclay's... He's not only started catching Nicolay, but he's left Kapamajan for dust.
I think it could have been too little too late, to be honest, though.
It should have never happened, to be honest. Should have never happened. But hey, anyway, Jacob's fourth. Gomez in a very good fifth, actually, for the Portuguese driver. We haven't said a lot about him, but he's made the no-stop work as well. Mind you, though, Chergwin is actually catching up to him very quickly as well. I think it might be a little bit too little too late in this scenario as well. But either way, P5 or P6 will be lovely for the Portuguese driver. Chergwin 6th. Watkins still holding on to P7. A great defensive drive from the Englishman so far. Yutt 9th. McGlade 10th. Joseph 11th. Fuller 12th. Schroten 13th. Scott in 14th. Though, is that a puncture? Or is he letting people through? He's letting people through. Never mind. Gardner now in 15th. Van der Sloot is on lap 28. I think... Oh, I can't tell it, to be honest. I'm rubbish with these sorts of things. So anyway, Nicolay comes across the line. Final lap of the race, we believe. It is... Okay, yeah, confirmation there. Confabulation there that Marius Nicolay on the final lap here. Actually, to be fair, I think Sherwin van der Sloot will just squeeze in, you know. Or, We'll wait and see. We'll wait and see. Any final battles to go on? Gomez just coming onto the final lap now. Yep, time has just ticked over there. Time has just ticked over. Churgwin. Oh, dearie me. Is he going to be able to make it? I'm not sure. It'll have to be a monumental effort to take P5. I think Watkins has got Morby in the bag, though. Let's see. Junton McGlade still fine. Yeah, I think it's just a case of can Churgwin catch Gomez and will Van der Sloot get that final point? To be fair, looking at where he is on track, I don't think he is actually. I think once he completes his lap, that's done. Let's see, where is Nicolay on track? Nicolay just going through turn 10 there. He's just going to be overtaking Paul Joseph, lapping the Scotsman. Looking at the Gomez-Churgwin scrap. It is close, but again, not close up. Oh, Morby's... Has he got him? He has got him. Oh, what's happened to Watkins? Oh, he's run out of fuel. No way. Watkins has run out of fuel. Oh, that's astonishingly bad luck. He might not even make the line. Yeah, oh, it's calamity for Paul Watkins. And by the way, Sherwin van der Sloot has overtaken Gardner, so Gardner will not get that final point, unfortunately. But going around the final corner, well, that was an end to the race, wasn't it? It was a race of fits and starts, but one person won in Churgwin through on Gomez, but Nicolay wins a Czech GT Cup of 2015. And Barclay's letting through Catherine Majan again. What are you doing, Barclay? Oh, dearie me. And Junt's through on Watkins, of course, because Watkins run out of fuel. So Captain Majan, P2, undeserved, if you ask me. Barclay third, Jacobs fourth. Churgwin still battling with Gomez, mind you. But I think he has it. Gomez, oh, and Gomez is round. Oh, my word. Almost round, just about saves it. Churgwin fifth, Gomez sixth. Morby, after all of that, will be coming home P7. Junt will be 8th. McGlade will be 9th. Okay, Watkins, even if he does retire, does hold on to P10. That will still be his highest finish of the year. Joseph 11th. Fuller 12th. Schroten P13th. Scott P14. And Van der Sloot, through the sad, sad case of Reese Gardner, will take the final point of today. But my word, what a bizarre race that was. And I wouldn't call it controversial, but Nico Barclay's been whipped. I'm sorry to say it, but he has been whipped. It was a chance to gain points on Captain Majan. In terms of the team's championship, it didn't really matter which way they came out of that in, whether it was 2 or 3rd. And yeah, one of our championship contenders, unfortunately, has been whipped into contention, and we certainly know what driver Basilia favours here. But let's focus on the leader for a little bit here, Marius Nicolay. Been a perfect event for him, really. Pole position, his first pole position of the year, now converted it into his 2nd win of the year, and a 2nd consecutive win as well, helping Walk out, no doubt, though was Walk's only driver, mind you, as well. Let's see, pretty mixed day for, I guess TSA has actually done pretty well with a 5th and the 7th there, Churgwin and Morby. ST as well, a 6th and the 12th, good points for them. Mighty 4th as well, despite Paul Watkins' unfortunate calamity there. P10 and P11 for them as well, they'll be quite happy. And, oh no, I think, unfortunately, what Paul Joseph there is, yeah, what Paul Joseph is doing...
around in the pits?
That's illegal.
Wow.
That is, kid you not, by the rules of the law, that's illegal.
It's
and
kind,
that would be,
but it's illegal.
It is, yes. So, well, anyway, he is exited out. I'm hoping that Paul will be let off. So the Paul Joseph, by the way, they're both Paul. I'm hoping he'll be let off by that one. But yeah, that was a bizarre race. Absolutely bizarre. And do you know what the most bizarre thing of all was? My connection didn't suffer.
Well, hey!
Which is, it's a shocker. It's a shocker. But anyway.
Biggest surprise in them all.
Biggest surprise in them all. But yeah, there's a lot to talk about there. An awful lot to talk about. Marius Nicolai, the man with the least chance to win the championship, now got the only points over the championship leader, Luis Felipe Capamajan. Nobody crowned, by the way, a champion at the end of this event. But what of Nico Barclay, though? What of Nico Barclay? Why did he let him through when he was a championship contender?
Austria 2002 in Formula 1. I mean, that case, Rubens Barrichello had the lead, let Schumacher through. That obviously Schumacher ended up in the championship. I think, personally, I don't think David Yunus had anything to do with it. He would be busy driving. I don't think he was even in the same TeamSpeak channel. But in the grand scheme of things, I think the Brasilia boys may have been thinking overall, Capamajan is first in the championship, should get priority over points. But I agree, Nico Barclay, I think, would have been more deserving of the second.
He still has a chance, you know.
Still has a chance.
That worries me. Anyway, let's get some interviewees in here today. I only see guys who were off the podium, but still very interesting interviews to be had overall. Perhaps we can start with our highest placed man, Matthew Churgwin. Now, Matt, decent qualifying once again, and overall, in the grand scheme of things, a decent race once again. But it seems for the second, or it might be third even, week in a row, yourself and Jacobs, you don't do each other any sort of aid in holding each other up at the start of the race. Capamajan once again ahead of you and once again extending his points lead.
Yep. I mean, so that was my pace, pure and simple. And it would seem to me that Tom had the same pace, otherwise he would have been by me. So we were in, well, at least I was in an awkward spot because the sprint tyre wasn't quick enough to make a gap and the endurance tyre was about the same pace and wore much better. And I think that's probably true of everyone, to be honest. But honestly, that was as quick as I could go. And the first time I could see that the tyres weren't going to last, so I decided to jump in the pits and messed up the tyre choice and ruined the second half of my race. But anyway, I'm pleased with the points. Phil came home in the top 10 as well, so that's a double top 10 for us. I think that's our best result ever in the team-wise in World GT. So, yeah, all in all, I'm pleased. It was hard work, but pleased.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure those over both the years you've been competing as well. So very good. Well done to you. Very good day overall for TSA. But Matthew Churgwin, you've been one of our protagonist Englishmen in this championship. And, well, we are heading to Silverstone next round. We had an English pole sitter. Can we have an English winner?
Well, I hope so. So way back when we're sort of evaluating which car to use and all this kind of stuff, we were running around Silverstone. So I've already got a setup in my pocket. I know what pace it can do. I know what strategies I can pull with it. So we shall see, as obviously we've got a long old time now between now and the next round. But quietly confident, and we shall see what time brings.
Good. Just going on Sky Sports there, like, go Brits. But anyway, thank you very much for joining us, Matt. Well done on your result. Another person with a good result, and I'm just going to bring another guy in just to prepare. Lewis McGlade. Overall, again, in the grand scheme of things, a good position for you. A 9th place, a top 10, perhaps a little bit unexpected, but it wasn't exactly the nicest of race evenings overall, especially considering what happened to Reese. And I was looking at the chat. There was a very angry Lulu McQuaid in there. Can you perhaps evaluate or further explain on what happened in qualifying?
Yeah, I was coming around a corner and there was Luis Kappa backwards, and he kind of accelerated, went back onto the racing line as I was coming around. I was on a lap, about 10.5 up in the first sector. He whispered me afterwards. He apologised for it. Going to drop it. He said sorry. Like, it's fair enough. It's just a mistake. To be honest, I kind of started roughly where I really wanted to, out of the way of everyone. Not too high because I knew I didn't really have pace. To be honest, the car was a bit crap around Brno. It's a bit more from what I can work out. It's a bit more of a power track, and the way we've set up the car and the way we're approaching the rounds and stuff, we're going for more of a handling car, and it just doesn't go along with this style of track. Realistically, obviously a bit disappointed with what happened to Reese, but it's such an easy mistake to make. I nearly did it about halfway through the race. I touched the curb on the going into turn one. It's nasty. You know, you go straight on. I did it in practice a couple of times, but you know, realistically, 9th is a fairly decent result for me. You know, in this at the moment, because my motivation for this championship's completely dropped off. So you know, I'm just out there to have a little bit of fun.
Now you actually evaluate, or you basically say, your Porsche is a handling car. Can we be expecting better things for Silverstone, therefore, which I would imagine would suit your car a little bit better?
Yeah, I mean, I'm probably not going to do like too much practice for it, but the thing with Silverstone coming up is that would be around the point where we probably would have started practicing in other leagues like VEC for Silverstone. So you know, Silverstone's probably going to be quite fresh in my mind. Obviously in quite a different car, but you know the track's there, the track knowledge is there, and so taking that, putting it in the Porsche, I'm fairly confident we're going to be a little bit stronger coming into Silverstone. We're going to have a little bit more qualifying pace, and you know have a bit more comfortable race pace as well. But results wise, you know, if we can just get in the top 10 with both cars next round, that'd be great.
Good stuff. Well, thank you for joining us, Lewis. And now on to your teammate Reese. I was devastated for you. I mean, as your teammate says quite rightly, a very, very easy mistake to make. Unfortunately, just slipped out of the points at the very end despite classifying. But I guess the one positive you can take away from this is it wasn't a good track for the Porsche. Silverstone will be a much better track for you. So hopefully you can get a much better position than perhaps we've seen from you before next time out.
Yeah, I hope so too. I mean, I didn't really come into this round expecting any magic to happen. In fact, I only did my my first laps, I think, about 2 hours before the practice session officially started. So all things considered, it was pretty good right up until that point. But yeah, to have that incident happen so close to the end was just, you know, you said you were devastated. I was more than devastated. Just like, you know, a 7th place, I would have kept my run of top 10 finishes going, and yeah, now it's all for nothing.
Yeah, I guess it's all part of the learning curve. I mean, I was saying earlier, the fact that you have been able to pull together such consistent good results throughout your first year, not only in GPV, but you know, more specifically World GT as well, it's got to be very encouraging. And you know, are you planning on entering next year? I know you're hopping off to other league, of course, with Lewis McGlade, but does World GT appeal to you for next year as well? I mean, especially given that we're probably going to see a mod update at the very least, of course.
I don't know. It's all up in the air. I mean, the decision for me to enter World GT was kind of last minute in the first place. So, yeah, when it comes to continuing leagues, I never really decide if I'm going to enter one until I really see what's happening. So, you know, maybe a month or a few weeks before it starts. So, who knows? Maybe I will. Maybe I won't. We'll see.
We'll see. Well, anyway, commiserations, Reese, on what was it was a great race up until that point anyway. But yeah, cheers for joining us. And we shall round off with 2 years ago's pole sitter, David Junt. Now, you started from the back, David, no time setting qualifying, but you had a pretty decent race yourself as well, a top 10 to celebrate. You there, David?
I think my mic's playing with me again.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, you okay?
Can you hear me now?
I can just about hear you, yeah.
And I hit the mute switch as well. Great.
All going well.
all going great.
Perfect. Yeah, I could start off. This is basically the same car I drove back then, but so much has changed. And even though I still remember that I lost to a certain JJ back then, it's been a completely different stuff at a whole event, even though same car, same track, you could say, even if it's different simulator now. Just came in, hoped that Tom would come as well. He said he would drive the second car again, but I think he had something to attend to, and he didn't return in time, so it was just me. And I built on some old setup, tried to improve my handling on control settings again to make myself faster, which seemed to work well. I did it on purpose not to set a lap time at qualifying because I was more looking into changing stuff, and seemed to work quite well. I advanced, passed some people, even though at the start there was something wrong with. I'm not quite sure. I'm probably gonna be looked into, as I somehow seem to start out of position, and I would have been given a drive through. So maybe I'll get a penalty afterwards, but I didn't quite understand that I was too far ahead. The game didn't tell me anything really in the end. So P8, a bit gifted, but even though the tire was quite terrible again, still have to work on the fronts, but otherwise I couldn't be much happier than P8.
Well, there we are then. A lovely race report once again. Cheers a lot, David. And I do apologise, by the way. I noticed my mic is sort of picking up sound. I don't know from what, or if it even is picking up anything. So if there was any echoes there, I do apologise profusely. But anyway, that was the Czech GT Cup. Only 2 more rounds left, but thankfully you've got 2 months to savour them over. Next off, we head to Silverstone, a track of many, many corners, and of course the home of British motorsport. It should be very good fun. We had a cracking race 2 years ago in 2013, and we'll be hoping for a repeat of such a race. Of course, there's going to be plenty going on at GPVWC in the time before that race, which is in a month's time, of course, as per usual. To catch you up on the next 2 weeks of action, though, make sure to join us next week, first of all, for the career ladder from Monza. We've got Open Series and Formula Challenge on the Tuesday, Super Cup on the Wednesday, and the Italian Grand Prix of Super League on the Thursday. And then the following week, it's back to the Independent Series. On the Monday, we have the Belgian Touring Cup from the Circuit Zolder. On the Tuesday, we have our second oval race, the Carolina Grand Prix or something along those lines. It's an oval race. Should be good fun. You never know who's going to win those ones. And on Wednesday, of course, we have the finale of the 2015 World Sports Series. It's Risto Capit versus Kevin Siggy versus Martin Lapasa for the driver's title. I'm sure that temperatures are going to skyrocket if they haven't already out on track. I'd just like to take these final few moments then to thank my wonderful cameraman for today, Josh Anderson, for stepping in for a couple of times as well. It's very nice to have someone to bounce off at least. We should have Stefan McCready with us, of course, for the final 2 rounds, so look forward to that. I've been James Kirk, and from all of us here, it is a very warm goodbye.